check. 1, 2, 3. Check, check. All right, guys, 6:31. Let's go ahead and get this puppy started. Call to order the meeting of the Chamblee Downtown Development Authority, March 24th, 2026. Brian Ray. Here. Jonathan Smith. Mike Escobar. Seth Watson. Jenna Dunham. Here. Councilman John Mesa called in or texted a while ago that something came up, emergency, and he could not make it. Let's do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Everybody have a chance to read over last month's minutes? Any discussions? And we can do not only the regular meeting, but executive session minutes. Everyone have a chance to read that as well? Any questions, discussions? All right, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from both the regular meeting of February 24th, 2026 and the executive session of February 24th, 2026.
We get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Chair's report. Well, some positive news on our bond lease agreement. After a lot of negotiations, a lot of back and forth in the last few weeks, the multifamily bond lease agreement has been agreed by all parties. Now, there's two parts to it. There's the multifamily part and there's the retail part. We're still working out some details on that, but the multifamily, at this point, has been signed off by everybody. So, like I said, just a couple of small things on the retail part, and we hope that's going to happen soon.
Have they talked about their development schedule at all? Is
They-
that slid?
They want it, yes, and the request was, once we make this final, when the retail portion is agreed to, they're gonna come out with a new schedule. And I will share that when we get it.
So we're still anticipating closing probably third quarter now?
Yeah, yeah.
Any details about the retail that we should be aware of?
No, I mean, when last time I chatted with Chris Carter, I chatted with him a couple days ago, but in terms of the retail portion, kind of keeping their cards close to the vest on like who they're talking to. But he seemed excited about it. So I think we're going to get some good folks here in downtown. And I'm not sure at what point in the process we would find that out. I mean, we still got a lot of building to do first. So, we may not really know any details on that for another year, really.
I would anticipate that, I don't know, I mean, until the buildings are up and they're just about to start construction, it probably won't be final.
Yeah, yeah. And no, I don't think we're getting Trader Joe's for anybody who's begging for a Trader Joe's in Chamblee. The Pierce property, just a quick update on that. We got the trailer removed the other day that was on the property that we were concerned about being kind of a security situation, possibly somebody shacking up there. So we had that removed. The city helped us out with that, and we appreciate that. They also cleaned up the property, got rid of the tires and the cardboard and some other stuff, so at least from the street it doesn't look horrible. And we just got a call from Greystar that said that we needed to inspect the buildings. And I was thinking that all the environmental stuff was wrapped up, but there's actually two parts. There is the ground part, which we all talked about quite a bit and had a lot of behind-the-scenes discussions on indemnification and all that. Well, there's a second part, which hopefully is not going to be a big deal. They're going to go in there and look at the buildings, and they couldn't look at the last fall because we still had tenants, at least on the commercial side. But Greystar kind of wants to know what they're getting into when they start doing the tear downs. And, you know, they're pre-1978 buildings, so there's probably asbestos or something in there, but, you know, that's kind of a known thing. I don't think there's any cause for concern in terms of the construction timeline, so. And kind of just circling back too about the bond lease agreements, since we're kind of running behind on that already and it's a big deal, we may have to have a special called meeting between now and April. If those become available, if the retail portion of it gets completed here soon, we're going to have a special call meeting because we want to get that. We don't want to wait on that. You know, there's been enough delays on that already, so just be prepared for that. And that's all I have for the chair's report, financial report.
Yeah, our balance sheet is looking fairly healthy at about 117,000 right now in the black, in part thanks to the two $50,000 loan installments we got from the city. We do have kind of one large outstanding amount that is owed to us from the Lumen project. It's looking like it's going to be, I guess the number I saw yesterday was 180 or 90, which is great because I think our budget was around 120. So that'll be a nice injection of revenue, and then we can consider whether we want to keep drawing on the loan, you know, if we're looking pretty healthy on our balance sheet. So that's all I've got, unless anyone has any questions.
Very good. It's a new business. So first up is the 2026-27 officer elections. I chatted with each of you, I think, in the last couple weeks, just to kind of see where everybody was feeling about that, and I appreciate everybody stepping up and wanting to take on some responsibility. We came up with, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to be chair, Mike Escobar for vice chair, Jonathan's going to stay on as treasurer, and Seth has offered to become secretary. Any discussions on that? Anybody else? All right, can I get a motion for that?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Matt Sitter as chair, Mike Escobar as vice chair, Jonathan Smith as treasurer, and Seth Watson as secretary.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, and we are unanimous. Congratulations, everybody.
Congratulations.
Your names are now going to be on checks and important documents, so when the lawsuits come in down the road, we're going to be calling you in.
Seth, you'll get to potentially sign stuff tonight.
That's
so.
right. You get to use your signature tonight. I hope you've been practicing. So the next item on new business is the Peachtree Station cancellation of the bond and termination of the bond documents. I worked on an explanation here, but I will just, in sum, they have exhausted their credits, their bucket of credits, and this is called a flip year. And even though I have my explanation here, since Brian was in on this in the early stages many years ago, this project was the second DDA project where we offered tax incentives back in 2015. So it was an important project. You know, it was the Whole Foods. It was very much a catalyst project for this area, and it was a brownfield site, so it had some, you know, had some difficulties with it, but it was a real critical project to kind of get Chamblee's redevelopment going. So, Brian, if you wouldn't mind, just explain a little bit about what this all means.
Right, as you mentioned, this is the Peachtree Crossing, or Peachtree Station, which is the Whole Foods site. I could tell you a story about why we managed to keep it a Whole Foods and not, you know, something else, but that's for another day. So when that incentive was established, they received a bucket of credits worth about $7.5 million. And what that means is that as their, as their annual taxes were abated, those taxes went against the bucket of credits that was allocated. Initially, that was anticipated to take up to 15 years. And so the fact that it is burned off in 11 years, 10 years probably, well, it probably even less than that, because those the real amount of those, the tax value really doesn't happen until after construction is complete. And so those really didn't start generating for probably 2018. So really what we've seen is it's not 15 years from 2015, it's 15 years from when they received, from the year after when they received their certificate of occupancy. So realistically, that incentive has burned off in less than half the time that was anticipated, simply due to the value of that project. So I think that's a huge win. But as the taxes burn off, they get applied to that bucket. And because DeKalb County, as like most places in Georgia, issues tax bills for the entire year, or the tax bill is based on who owns it on January 1st. And the taxes are for the entire year. And because those taxes for this, as of this year, they hit the 7.5 million point. Including this year's taxes, it was actually 7.7 million and change. Because their bucket of credits was only worth 7.5 million, the difference between what the taxes would have been owed for this year and what the remainder of the value of their bucket of credits is then due to the DDA, which is why the DDA will be seeing a windfall of roughly $236,000. I knew there was a 6 in there someplace. So that's why the DDA is seeing a windfall of $226,000, for this year. So we anticipated a windfall. We didn't know what the amount would be, because that's based upon a negotiated value, and it's complicated. But the upside is the DDA will see a windfall. As of next year, this property will be back on the tax rolls, and so the county, the school district, and the city, and all of the other taxing entities will start receiving the full value of that entire project on their tax revenue. So I think that's a huge win. I mean, I think this year their total taxes would have been, I don't know, I mean, probably on the order of $700,000 or $800,000. So that will be going back on the revenue side. So I think it's a great win. It's a project that probably wouldn't have happened without the incentives. So, and it certainly is a halo project for Chamblee that has made dramatic impact on the surrounding community. So it's really awesome to see.
I just want to share a personal anecdote on that project. When I was looking for a place to live for my family, my wife was pregnant. We thought Brookhaven was where we wanted to be. Our realtor said, "Would you consider Chamblee?" I was like, I don't know anything about it, but on the way in to seeing my home, I saw that the Whole Foods was being built. And that was definitely a factor in me understanding that Chamblee was like up and coming. And so it's a credit to y'all's work, people before us. So.
And the way these work, the way the incentive works is that the DDA actually takes ownership of that property and then leases it back to the owner of the development. And so in this instance, what will happen with the cancellation of that bond and the termination of the bond agreements, we will basically be turning that, they have the opportunity to purchase the entire property from us for a nominal amount of like $10 at the end of that lease period. And so that's what will happen. And so we'll no longer be owners of that property.
Okay, so we'll have to have I've got a motion here for that. I can do that, right? Or do I have to give that to somebody else?
You can do that.
All right.
I wanted to also just point out one thing too. So normally this process would have happened next year. That's when their annual report would be due. But the reason it's coming up now is because the company has requested early cancellation. So that's why everything references early cancellation and all that kind of stuff. But essentially this resolution and document agrees that both parties agree the flip year is going to happen this year, which it will. So it's just getting that process done earlier and also receiving that flip year payment earlier.
Do we know when the anticipated payment hits our little bank account?
Matt Sitter asked me that question earlier, so I don't know exactly because I know, we'll have the documents to execute on our end tonight. So it'll really just take the time that the company can execute them. And so I'm not sure how long that is, but normally, at least with the annual report payments, those come in within a matter of days. They usually overnight those. So I would expect that to be the same for this. Once all the documents are executed, I'd expect them to overnight it to us. And then it's just a matter of me dropping it off to the bank.
We love big checks coming into our treasury.
Yeah. So, sorry, back to Jonathan's point, with this amount of cash coming to our bank account, were you alluding to paying off our loan early with the city?
I think definitely initially my thought was, well, we won't take any more draws. So we have $200,000 left that we could draw from the loan. I think with this payment coming in and the 180 from Lumen, that we should be able to pay off the 100,000, yeah. And then just terminate that loan agreement.
Yeah, I do know that looking at a worst-case scenario, I think that with this payment, with the anticipated payments in the fall, we will be fine for making our debt payments for 2026, is my assumption. My concern is if, for some reason, the city center project falls through, and we do not close on that project this year, and we have to restart the project. And again, this is the absolute worst-case scenario. I do not think it's going to happen, but the cautious side of me is just aware that while a tiny,
Small chance of that happening.
chance is likely, I still think we ought to look at it in a little bit more depth before we make
I
that
agree.
decision.
I'm just suggesting we run the numbers and present it to the board, and we'll go from
I
there.
agree.
I also think we need maybe like a legal opinion from Jesse as to, is our earnest money hard? I think it is. That would be helpful. And then what are the remaining outs in the contract, and why would, I heard a couple comments about closing being extended again, but I don't understand what would cause that closing to continue to extend.
I think the major out is getting the bond approved legally, getting the bonds approved by the court is probably the most significant out that remains. But again, I think Jesse's probably the best person who could answer that question.
Yeah, and I think you could give us that answer in hopefully a few sentences, so,
Yeah.
at this
Well,
point.
it's nice to have a little bit of, a backstop just in case with the city loan, but hopefully, like I said, we'll find out for sure about the second bond agreement.
On the earnest money, there was an initial payment and then there was a second payment.
It's 250 and then another,
Has that second payment been made as well?
yes, it has
Into
been.
the escrow account?
Yep.
Okay.
So it was 250 initially and then an extra 500 that went in a couple weeks ago, I believe. So, all right, so the resolution to cancel the bond and termination of the bond, so I'm going to make a motion to adopt a resolution of the DDA authorizing and approving the cancellation of a bond and termination of related bond documents, the execution and delivery of other matters in connection therewith, and various related matters for the Peachtree Station Holding LLC project, subject to the chairman's final approval in consultation with council.
Second?
All those in favor, or discussion on that? All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Public comments? Doesn't look like anybody's interested in commenting. And we do have an executive session, should be quick, but it does relate to a real estate matter. So if somebody can give me a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing a real estate matter.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we'll be back in a few minutes. Get a motion to exit executive.
Motion to exit executive session?
Get a second?
Second.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. And barring anything else, I'll get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Anyone?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. And that is unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody.